together. I need all that.
Hey there, I'm Tricky, and welcome to Galactic, a horde-based combat game where you and up to 3 other unfortunate wage slaves must venture into the caverns of the most hostile planet in the galaxy, Hoxus 4D, and risk your life collecting shiny rocks to please your corporate overlords. Get paid, lose all of your money because you dumped it into Dogecoin, go back to the caves, and start the cycle all over again.
Did I hear a rockin'
The goal of the game is to complete a set of 2 objectives which can be seen from the mission selection screen. Here, you can create your own game or join one in progress. When you join an in-progress game, be careful to look around when you drop in. When other players join your game, you'll get a message from Mission Control.
A miner is on the way to join you.
Once in-game, you'll need to fend off waves of enemies as you complete your task, and deal with all of the environmental hazards as well. The first objective on your HUD must be completed before you can call in the dropship. They will literally imprison you in the cave until you do your job. The second objective is optional, but will give your team a decent boost to profits and experience upon completion. After completing the objective, you enter the drop pod to leave.
Yeah, boy.
The type of objectives are varied, ranging from mining or collection of plants and fossils to escorting a sentient drill. The type of required objective determines the mission type. These mission types, in no particular order, are a basic mining expedition, egg hunt, salvage operation, which requires you to repair and retrieve broken mules. This is then followed by restarting the drop pod from a previously failed expedition.
Now to get the pod working. First, establishing a proper connection between the pod and the space rig. Set up the uplink.
Elimination is a mission where you fight bosses called Glyphed Dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts are contained within a cocoon, which when damaged will come out very pissed off. The terrifying part about this is that it means that dreadnoughts, like China, are attempting to grow larger before you stop them.
As we claim our rightful place among the world's leading nations.
I recommend that you order a supply drop before you start the fight, as there is nothing worse than running out of ammo in the middle of fighting a dreadnought.
The bigger they are, the more damn ammo they take.
Escort Duty requires you to protect and refuel a drill dozer as it approaches and mines out an online Hearthstone. Once the drill dozer has done its job, you strap the stone onto the mule and call in the drop pod.
Nicely done. Armor and Hearthstone.
That motherfucking thing on me.
There are 2 mission types left. Both require you to deposit minerals at the mining platform instead of giving you an autonomous minecart. The first is point extraction, where you must mine crystals called quarks from the wall. The mining platform for this contains automated turrets that will slightly help in keeping small enemies off of you. The last mission type is on-site refining, where you collect liquid morkite by building and defending pipelines from extremist threats. Upon completing a mission, you'll be rewarded with credits, experience, and some of the various brewing ingredients and crafting materials you collected along the way. Brewing materials, primarily barley bulbs, allow you to purchase beers, some of which will buff you for the duration of the mission.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Over here and hurry.
Crafting materials appear as minerals, different from the ones required by missions. These are used to upgrade and purchase equipment, which I'll explain later. There are 4 specialized classes to choose from, and I encourage you to try all of them. These characters are well balanced around their mobility rather than their defined combat roles, allowing for all classes to fill a role in any team. They are the Driller, Engineer, Gunner, and Scout. Each class has their own unique loadout options with a vast amount of upgrade combinations available for them. The first class is the Driller, who serves the very important purpose of saving you from terrible fucking RNG. When you call in the drop pod, The game can decide to make you backtrack through the entire cave system. The driller, however, can rapidly dig straight to it through hundreds of meters of rock, eliminating the need to crawl through a cave as the game spawns enemies everywhere. Thus, his strengths lie in carving the area to your preference, such as preparing the area for a drop pod refueling and creating larger arenas to fight in. The driller's offensive weapons are largely focused on dealing with enemies at close range. As such, one of his primary weapons is a Flamethrower, the most suitable weapon for dealing with spiders. The plasma charger, with the thin containment field upgrade, doubles as an incredibly useful mining tool. Using it consistently is difficult to pull off, but rewarding when done correctly. His freeze thrower is a great complement to his mining drills, and knowing how to use this loadout effectively can turn him into a presence that rivals the firepower of the gunner. He also carries bricks of C4, but be mindful not to blow up your team because there is friendly fire. The next class is Engineer, who, like any engineer from every other shooter, has a sentry turret and an everlasting friendship with the Sniper or Scout class. His utility equipment is a platform gun, which of course allows him to shoot platforms, which can make it possible for your Scout to access minerals without falling to his death. The platform gun can be upgraded to reduce fall damage when landing on said platforms as well, allowing you to save yourself from falling to your death with quick reactions. Remember that you can also block off random holes to conform with OSHA regulation. The platform gun can also be used to create some pretty crazy walkways. The weapons of the Engineer fall into the middle range category, with a choice between an SMG or shotgun. His secondary weapons are a grenade launcher and a modified mining laser, both of which are capable of damaging multiple enemies. Next is the Gunner, who is the primary damage dealer of your team. With a choice between a minigun with massive single target damage, limited only by the heat it generates, and a flak cannon looking object that does great area damage, the Gunner is capable of clearing the room while your other members do their thing. His utility items are a zipline launcher and a tossable bubble shield. The zipline launcher is very useful in cheesing enemies and getting a higher vantage point to rain down bullets on them, in addition to bypassing certain inconveniences caused by terrain. The bubble shield gives you a great opportunity to go for a revive in a scenario where it would not otherwise be possible, allowing him usefulness beyond just shooting enemies. And now to the final class, Scout, whose primary function is to zip around like a crackhead, easily collecting minerals that are difficult to reach for your other teammates. You also have a flare launcher, which is used for area lighting caverns. Be sure not to forget that you have it. The Scout weapons tend to fall in the long-range category, the first being an assault rifle, and the second being my favorite weapon in the game, the M1000. It's my favorite, only because it sounds fucking hot. Despite there being multiple classes and the game being centered around co-op, it is completely playable solo. You can create a private lobby with only yourself, or create one for others to join. In either case, if you are the only player currently in the game, it will spawn an assistant drone named Bosco. Bosco will automatically attack enemies near you, and can be directed using the pointer to launch rockets, mine a mineral vein, or pick up and carry objects to you. If another player loads into the game, upon spawning in, Bosco will despawn. Bosco is upgradable in the space rig, allowing you to further increase his utility to your preference. Speaking of upgrades, every weapon and piece of equipment in-game is upgradable, which involves using the credits and special minerals you earn through playing. To initially unlock more weapons for a class, you have to complete weapon license assignments. These are selected from the assignments terminal after hitting a certain level with that class, and are completed by doing 3 different missions. There are quite a few more assignments which unlock various things such as class promotion, which I'll explain later on. You can tell which missions will count towards your assignment through an icon on the mission selection screen. As for upgrading the weapons that you unlock, as you earn experience and level your characters, it will unlock various tiers of upgrades which you spend your credits and minerals on. These upgrades can drastically improve the usefulness of weapons, so be sure not to neglect them. Another form of upgrading in this game is the Perk Tree. Perks are separated into different tiers, and unlocking them uses points that you acquire from completing milestones. Don't worry about wasting the points, because you'll eventually have enough to unlock the entire tree anyway. Choose what looks interesting or useful to you. For example, the Hover Boots perk can allow a scout to save himself from falling to his death if playing solo, or if your engineer isn't paying attention. Perks are equipped through the loadout screen. On a completely unrelated note, Deep Rock has a pretty interesting map and laser pointer. The map in this game is a very useful rotatable 3D holo map. The map can be fully uncovered by downloading data from a helmet. The pointer is like the ping system in other games and can be used by everybody to mark objects, minerals, and enemies, or to point out things to mentally deficient team members.
Have you guys ever got poison ivy in your junk before?
Now, to the enemies.
Retrieving escape pod.
If you have an uncontrollable fear of spiders, you may have issues playing this game, as the vast majority of non-flying enemies are various forms of arachnids, and the rest of the enemies, non-hostile creatures, are all some form of insect. In the cannon fodder category, we have swarmers and grunts, by far the most common enemies, which can quickly be dispatched by most weapons. That being said, many enemies, including even grunts, have armor around their bodies, and weak spots that can be exploited. These are typically the mouth and thorax. But when in doubt, always shoot the very obvious glowing parts. The next enemy is the Praetorian, whose greatest contribution to the Glyphed race involves vomiting all over the place like he has a hangover. Next, the Glyphed Menace, a somewhat rare but dangerous ranged enemy who is the bane of anyone using a zipline. The Warden, a Glyphed who underwent heel slut sissification hypnosis. His feeble femboy physique is only capable of buffing defense on nearby allies. Next, the Exploder, an enemy that will attempt to approach you and destroy itself in the process. Keep in mind that they are very difficult to hear, being nearly silent apart from the slight music you will hear when they approach. Next is the Detonator. There are two variants of the Detonator. The first is the Bulk Detonator, an extreme hazard that leaves a lasting impression upon seeing one for the first time. Upon death, the Bulk Detonator explodes violently, leaving a massive crater. The next variant is the Drip Dispenser. The Drip Dispenser is a total Chad armored in solid gold, who before its death will explosively perform a drip check on all matter within 5 meters. After coating the surrounding area and the entire Gucci catalog, you have to collect it. Be aware, however, that your newly acquired Gucci sandals will evoke great envy in the locals, who will stop at nothing to rob you of them.
Contact. We got 6, no, 12. A lot of aliens heading your way.
The Drip Dispenser is a rare spawn, and to maximize the amount that they will graciously donate, I recommend that you enter a narrow cavern before it detonates. Other notable enemies include the Youngling and Shellback, which are just as annoying as the spider wheels in Dark Souls. There is also the Stabber Vine, which is absolutely fucking terrifying when you get hit by one without noticing it. The damage of all enemies largely depends on the difficulty level. There are 5 levels in the game, called hazard levels. Each increase to the hazard level will scale every source of damage in the game, including friendly fire. Further expanding upon difficulty are gameplay modifiers called mutators. Some of these are neutral, or even beneficial, which have a small or entertaining impact on gameplay. The low gravity mutator makes you feel like you're playing Doom. Golden bugs will allow you to rob the locals of their money. There are, however, mutators that can drastically increase difficulty by adding additional mechanics to deal with. To list a few, there is low oxygen, which causes your character to slowly deplete an oxygen meter, which begins directly damaging your health when it empties. The only sources of oxygen are the mule, minehead, and supply drops, and you need to stand near them to replenish the meter. Another modifier is Swarmageddon, which spawns a metric assload of Glyphed swarmers. I recommend having a driller with a flamethrower for this modifier, because after this, you'll want to torch the entire biome. To me, the most difficult mutator is Haunted Cave, which spawns an unknown horror shortly after the pod lands. It will follow you around and attack you when close enough, and you can't kill it. According to the wiki, this is the angry ghost of a bulk detonator. Why is it angry, you may ask? Because he wants to instill fear upon the dwarves. The fear that although the thrill of mining rock and stone is temporary, the fear of Allah is forever. The Elite Threat Mutator is another notable change to gameplay. This one will spawn significantly stronger variants of larger enemies. These enemies have more health, unique attacks, and deal more damage. The Elite Detonator is fucking terrifying, as the blast radius is 75% larger for his final attack. I've explained much of the basics, so it's time to look at endgame content. When your class of choice hits level 25, you'll be able to accept a promotion assignment. This is essentially the game prestige system, and unlocks further content. Deep dives are weekly missions where you do 3 consecutive missions in a row. Current ammo, nitra, and other minerals all carry through to the next mission. There are 2 types of deep dives, standard and elite. Standard, to be blunt, isn't much of a challenge. The difficulty for these is 3 to 3.5, and these missions are generally easy. Elite deep dives, on the other hand, are exceptionally difficult as they vary between hazard 4.5 to 5.5. Get bad mutators, which there are 3 of for elite, meaning every mission will have a negative modifier, and it becomes almost impossible. The danger of an elite deep dive is approximate to a triple-length hazard 5 mission with a negative mutator for each. Deep dives involve 2 required objectives rather than just 1, with the secondary sometimes being the primary objective of other mission types. There are currently a total of 31 possible combinations. In between missions, it will show you a neat loading screen with your current progress. After completing each mission, you will get loot unique to deep dives. Some of it is just cosmetic. However, you can also get some very useful loot. Weapon overclocks.
And let's go!
These add yet another layer of weapon upgrading. Overclocks and deep dive cosmetics can be accessed from the forge screen. Much like upgrading and purchasing a weapon, these require credits and minerals to unlock. There are 3 types of overclocks: clean, balanced, and unstable. Clean upgrades give a minor boost with no downside. Balanced upgrades give a moderate boost but have a drawback. Unstable overclocks give a massive boost to a stat of the weapon at the cost of a sizable penalty, or outright just changes the mechanic of it altogether. As an example, you can turn the grenade launcher into a mini-nuke launcher, or turn it into a borderline hit-scan direct-fire weapon. You could also simply take the ammo upgrade, which lets you store 2 more rounds in your prison wallet. One of the autocannon upgrades allows you to channel your inner war criminal. Each weapon has at least 5 overclocks, and combined with base upgrades creates an incredibly diverse weapon system, allowing you to tweak any weapon to your liking. Deep Rock also has a cosmetic system. As mentioned before, some are locked behind deep dives, but the vast majority can be found in standard missions by locating either lost equipment or cargo crates, whose location is shown on your map when you download data from helmets. As with upgrades, some of these require using minerals and credits to unlock. Some are also locked behind your overall level and require completing assignments to unlock. There are also DLC cosmetics, but it isn't forced upon you in any way. Graphically, this game uses low poly and low texture quality models. This is not an issue at all, however, as it's incredibly well done. The terrain generation manages to consistently be very pleasing to look at as well, to the point that I've stopped what I'm doing sometimes just to look around. A side effect of the model and texture quality is that this game will run on basically anything. Let's talk about the grind. Unlocking anything in this game is not difficult. The requirements, experience, and amount of currency you get from completing missions is very well balanced, and it doesn't feel like an absolute chore to complete an assignment or unlock a weapon. In the current gaming industry, where games are becoming increasingly grindy and bothersome to play, having a game that actually respects the player's time is a massive bonus. Let's talk about the bad. The game is far from perfect. In fact, it's a janky fucking mess. I once experienced dreadnoughts teleporting behind me after disappearing in line of sight. There have been minor issues with terrain generation, but nothing game-stopping. Once, when we were doing a salvage mission, my friend grabbed a mule leg, and every time he held space, he would continue to float upward.
What? Tricky, I'm flying.
What the fuck?
Oh, I'm out of here.
Oh, oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Secured. Pod working. First, establishing a proper connection between the pod and the space rig. Set up the uplink.
All of this is perfectly okay. None of the bugs I've experienced have caused me frustration. In fact, it's quite the opposite.
That's him. I didn't even fucking realize. What the hell?
Oh no!
Part of the fun of Deep Rock Galactic is in its jankiness.
What the fuck?
Characters even have voice lines complaining about Molly's pathfinding AI and wanting to punch the person who programmed it.
I want to punch the guy in R&D who programmed Molly. The air is getting heavy.
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this.
To give you an idea of the community consensus on this bugginess, once upon a time, the developers actually fixed the bug that causes you to spaz the fuck out once you're on top of a barrel. The community was like, bruh, why did you do that? And they quickly reverted it. Anything that is a serious game-breaking issue is promptly fixed. Anything that adds to the fun or experience is left in. So even when considering what is commonly considered poor for a game, I don't really have any complaints. The community is great as well. One thing to be aware of is joining a modded lobby. This will break any sense of progression the game has, but you can use the save page to revert your progress to what it was before. The only actual complaint I have is that there is no option to mute the game when you alt-tab. As for my final rating of the game, I've never launched it and not had a good time. 10 out of 10, fucking buy it. Seriously, just buy it. It is my go-to shooter to sit back and have a good time. By the way, they also recently added modding support, and are teasing the date for the next update. Thank you to anyone who happened to watch this.
Oh, I just got shot. I'm down. Ooh.
Where did that come from?
Exactly where I said, like fucking where I heard the dogs.
We just want some booty. 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 What kind of hug